Britain, about 5,000 protesters are expected to descend outside of the Indian High Commission in London on the occasion of India's Republic Day on the 26th of this month. Now, Indian diplomats and also some British Indians have sounded alarm bells, fearing that there could be pandemonium, some vandalism and also violence as it happened previously, and damage to the Indian High Commission's building in London. Now, according to reports, the Rise for Kashmir protest will take place outside the Indian High Commission on the 26th of January. The sources say that all representatives of Pakistan's political parties probably were in the United Kingdom and were privy to these planned protests. Now, the British authorities have said that they will review the security arrangements closer to the protest day after being prodded by the Indian diplomats in London. Now, the Office of Mayor of London exclusively has told WION, and I quote, "The power to ban marches lies with the Home Secretary." The mayor was deeply upset about the previous incidents of violence, aggression and hostility, and anyone who acts unlawfully will be accountable to the police. This is what the Office of the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, has said. Now, the president of Tehreek-e-Kashmir in the United Kingdom has denied that the protesters were paid for or that Pakistan had any involvement in these, what he describes as spontaneous protests against India's de-operationalization of Article 370. He said that this is in fact a protest by British Kashmiris and British Sikhs without the involvement of any political parties. He also said that there will not be any violence and that they expect about 2,000 to perhaps 3,000 people to descend in front of the British High Commission. Now, in the past, there were demands that protests of this nature outside the Indian High Commission in London should not be allowed, but then again the British government turned around and said that protesting is a right which cannot be curbed so long as it is done peacefully. Now, the Indian officials posting the Indian High Commission are concerned about the security and also about the mission's building, and they've requested the British authorities to shift the venue of these protests to a different place away from the Indian High Commission. So it is important to note here that this is not the first time that the protests are taking place at the Indian Embassy in London. The protests against the de-operationalization of Article 370 had rocked the embassy last year as well. Now, the protest took a bit of an ugly turn when the embassy building was vandalized and pelted with stones.